One. Check, check.
We're on.
Hey, buddy. Merry
Hey.
belated Christmas. Happy early New Year. We've been kind of laying low on the Dog Sports Live, but you've been doing stuff everywhere, breaking news, doing interviews, and it's been pretty cool. So bring us up to speed. Where are we? Where are you right now? What are you thinking? JT and George headed down to Miami, and we got both the offensive and defensive coordinators in their pressers today, and not a lot of news.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I noticed like a few people tweet at me or kind of like subtweet. Like I put a tweet out last night, as you know, that was just like, hey, some things I think have changed a little bit behind the scenes. And the situation for months and months, everyone I talked to was just like, JT's not, he's not really getting any reps in practice with that are significant, and there's not much of a chance of him playing, and you can just kind of not worry about it and put it to bed for a while. So that's what I did. And I think I was pretty vocal about encouraging people to not waste their energy worrying about it. I do want to point out before I say anything else that I've been somebody that I think has been a Stetson defender for a lot of the year. I've tried to be like realistic about what he is and isn't, but there were some stretches of this season where he was playing really well and he deserved to be under center. And, I think that I pointed that out. I know there's some in the fan base that have just been like critical of everything he does. I definitely have not been one of those people, but I did not think, if you'd asked me on Christmas Day, like, is there anything that has changed dynamic wise in the quarterback room? I would have told you no. Over the last 48 hours, a lot of people that I talked to that are, very, very close to the program and are in positions to know these things have said that that's no longer the case. Like JT is very much an active part of what's going on with this game plan in a sense. I think that we are in a situation where, like, I will go ahead and say he took a significant amount of first team reps in practice today. I know that some of the, pay sites out there have tried to like squash that rumor, and it's just not true. Like that,
All right.
that is the case. He has been taking, he has been splitting reps with Stetson. I still think that Stetson is going to walk out as the starter on Friday. At this very point in time, like at this moment at 10:45. I'm sorry.
Let me just jump in, just because I think people want to know. Do you think there is a scenario where that JT plays significant minutes versus Michigan?
Yeah, I do. I think that, one of two ways that happens. One is that Stetson maybe just doesn't come out and have his best day. Like, I do not think that Georgia is going to just ride it out with Stetson if he is struggling, like we have seen them do at times in the past. Like, I think that if he is not playing well, Georgia is going to make whatever they have to make to have a productive offense in this game. And same goes for vice versa. If Stetson is playing well and JT, never sees the field or whatever, then like whatever is going to work, I think is what Georgia is going to do. But I think that there is a distinct possibility that we could see him in some certain packages or some certain situations or something of that nature. There's part of me that feels like that's a little wild to think about in a college football playoff semifinal, like possibly seeing some sort of quarterback rotation or whatever. But situationally, there's things that he does well that Stetson doesn't, and vice versa. So I do think that there is possible, like, I don't want to say I expect him to go out and take, X number of snaps or anything like that. But at this point, like, you don't give somebody snaps a couple days before a college football playoff game unless you expect them to be part of your game plan or anticipate that they may, come in certain situations.
I think it's an all hands on deck situation, and they're prepared for anything, just like game elimination game in baseball. So I do suspect that Stetson's going to get a chance to make to start the game and play significant most of the first half. But I wouldn't be surprised at all to see JT come in there, because they know. I think everyone knows. Every single person knows, no matter what they've tweeted, what they've said in press conferences, or what they said on in their hearts, that they know that there's a distinct possibility that we're going to need better quarterback play should we get a rematch with Alabama. And I think that Stetson and JT are going to play on Saturday night, or excuse me, Friday night, and I'm looking forward to it. Anything?
Yeah.
We've talked about that. Anything you want to add before we start getting into sort of the Michigan preview?
I mean, what I want to add is just like, no matter what happens and no matter how this plays out, like I do think that people have been unfair towards Stetson Bennett at times this year, and like no matter what your opinion is on this, you have the right to have that opinion. But I do like hate hearing that the kid's walking around with a flip phone to try and like avoid all the negativity when he's the quarterback of a team that's 12-1 and is one of 4 teams that's got a shot to win a national title this year. Like, he has done a lot of very good things, and he has helped Georgia get to this point. How this plays out over the next couple games, because like I do think there's also the very possible scenario that Stetson is enough to beat Michigan and Georgia comes out and things just roll well, and then we maybe see something different in a potential rematch against Alabama. Like, I think that there's a lot of cards on the table. Well, I think the MLB playoff analogy you made is very good and probably appropriate. But no matter how it plays out, like, they're all kids and they're doing their best, and I think that we are all well served to remember that when we talk about the situation.
All right, we're going to circle back on that, because there's a lot to be said, and we won't take all your time tonight. But you're 100% right on all of that. It just no one wants to see a scholarship player or walk-on player feeling bad about doing his best, and everyone. I do think he's got the support of the majority of the fan base, but the majority of the fan base wants to beat Alabama too. So let's get into it. Michigan, the number 2 team in the college football playoff, they've kind of built. They had a kind of a tough loss against Michigan State. They outplayed the Spartans, but they gagged it up at the end. But after that, they beat their arch rival Ohio State, and they've earned the number 2 seed in the playoff. All that to say is they've been building towards this. The entire season was not handed to them. They came out of nowhere. I think they had a 7 or 8, maybe I think it was 8 win total for the season, and they blew past that, and here they are. So you've looked at the tape. They've got the one of the Heisman runner-ups, Aiden Hutchinson, on the defensive end, and Ajabu on the other side, which are they're 2 most talented players. And then they've got McNamara, sort of a kind of a game manager quarterback, but they've got they led college football in rushing. So they're kind of built, and I've seen this analogy a bunch. They're kind of built like a UGA team that we've seen a lot of. So, all right, jump in. I'm going to throw some stats up here on this is our offense versus the Michigan defense. This 36% success rate allowed is like 12th in FBS, which is pretty good. They're averaging 4.9 yards play. This is a very similar numbers to Alabama, honestly, defensively speaking wise. Their explosiveness is right there with Georgia. But that just tells you that they don't give up a lot of plays defensively, and those ones that they do give up aren't super explosive. But all right, talk to me some more about what you've studied and looked at on this Michigan D.
Yeah, I think they're very sound. Like, fundamentally, they're very assignment sound. The edge rushers you've already mentioned are very good. I do think there's not maybe the team speed that you see in the SEC, particularly at the linebacker and safety positions. The defensive backs, I think, are good college DBs. They're athletic. I personally think probably their best player on defense very well maybe Dax Hill, who's kind of he sort of goes back and forth between that nickel spot and some sort of safety looks. Former 5-star guy. He will be a a high round NFL draft pick here in a few months for sure. But I think there's some things you can do to take advantage of them. And statistically, it's like you go back and look at their schedule, and it's like, who's the best quarterback they played this year? You know, besides like CJ Stroud. Ohio State was able to have some success. Didn't always cash in the red zone, but really, like, I think Ohio State's defense lost that game more so than their offense. But you go past that, and it's like the best quarterback they played this year was Sean Clifford, maybe, or
See, I mean, you already said CJ Stroud, but yeah.
I mean, besides him, though, it's like this defense is good, but I think they haven't really played like any super well balanced attacks. They have not played anybody that has the athletes or the number of athletes that Georgia does on offense. I think that like they can do some things to give Georgia problems, but I don't know that they are as good from a matchup standpoint as they are maybe like statistically or on paper.
I was on with Ed Fang, who runs the Power Rank, our friend over at thepowerrank.com, last night on a podcast, and I should have shouted that show out before now, but Ed's super smart. He's a Michigan, sort of adopted Michigan as his team. He didn't go there, but he lives in Ann Arbor and stuff. And he talked about sort of, there wasn't a lot of explosive offenses they played. And honestly, if you throw out the record and look at what Nebraska did offensively, statistically, they were probably one of the better teams. And they actually had they kind of had a bad half against both Michigan State and Nebraska. They got the Nebraska win, but they kind of fumbled around in the second half. But that offense might have been their second best offense they faced. Washington was supposed to be better than they were. Obviously, they had a super disappointing year.
Yeah, they were pretty awful.
But that game they had against them was not. They didn't pass the ball at all. They just ran it. We're talking about the offense there. Yeah. But that's
like
probably.
I'm gonna say a lot of really nice things about Michigan, and they're all warranted and they're all true. But just thinking of the world that we live in, and the horrible place that Twitter is, like, how do you think people would talk about this Georgia team if they won a 3-point game against Nebraska, put up 29 points on Indiana, won 21-17 against Penn State, who ended up finishing the year unranked and wasn't that good? Like, you know what I mean? It's just there's not as much to it as I think a lot of people want to make.
No, I mean, looking at the stats, I mean, they're 44% success rate on offense. They've got a really good defense that's carried them. They're leading the country in rushing. It's like we said, it's the Georgia of 2017. Now, can they get over the hump, and can that young quarterback win 2 games in the college football playoff? We'll see, but he's going to have to go through the best defense. And, even after looking at the Alabama game, that defense was uncharacteristically bad. He's not going to get that defense again. So he's going to have to prove it.
No. And I mean, well, even if he did, Michigan they're not equipped to do the things to Georgia that Alabama did. Like, they don't have those types of athletes. They do not have, like, that's not what's going on here. You know what I mean? Like, there's not the type of dynamic speed at wide receiver. There's definitely not a Jamison Williams, but there's not even a John Mechie. Flip side is the running game, and we're gonna get into some film and talk about all that. But like, I don't think it's kind of unreasonable to sit here and say it's. I know we've talked about the Alabama game for a month now, like Georgia as a fan base has, but like, it's time to throw that out the window, because we watched Georgia play 13 games this year, and you can either choose to believe that the 12 prior to Alabama were the anomaly, or the one out of the sample was the anomaly. After watching the tape, I choose to believe that, the one that happened on December 6th was the anomaly, and that the other 12 was more indicative of what this defense really is.
All right, let's get into the Michigan defense. I've got the Michigan State game coming up. Is that what you've got on your rundown here?
Yep.
All right.
So yeah, Michigan State showed early that play action and pocket motion is a really good way to neutralize the threat of Aiden Hutchinson and David Abo. So like I think misdirection is really important against this team, and you're going to see it a few times here as we kind of go through. But like rolling the pocket like this, that's something that Georgia has done a lot with Stetson this year. They can do it with JT as well. And then you see in this run play, like they use the H back to come in and neutralize the D lineman there. And I thought Michigan State did a good job of giving those edge guys different looks in the blocking scheme that just kind of kept them from being able to pin their ears back and tee off on one-on-one matchups. And that's something Georgia does in their run game a lot too. Here you're going to see like Hutchinson lined up to the right side of Michigan State's line. So they go stretch to the left. I don't think Ojabo is a great pass rusher. He is not great at setting edges on defense. I'm very comfortable saying that. Like, I think that he's a great pass rusher. I don't think he's great against the run. I think that Georgia can do things with Sawyer and McClendon at the tackle position, depending on where he's lined up. So, yeah, kind of moving into this next play, like what you cannot do.
Pick out.
Oh, yeah. That's the same play. My bad. Gotcha. Okay, yeah, so if you kick out the ends, you can gut Michigan inside. The DTs aren't bad, but they're not disruptive. And then, yeah, like this is the type of opportunities that I think Georgia can take advantage of, especially Stetson Bennington at quarterback. Just there are holes in this defense. Michigan plays a lot of zone in the back end. And, in all of that, there's times where guys just kind of get lost a little bit, and sometimes they play some of these kind of match concepts in the secondary, and you can sort of run guys out of the play. So if the pocket's breaking down, I think there will be opportunities to run up the field.
All right, this is 29 here, just to make sure we're on.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So I mean, like here you see there's plenty of time to throw. Like Michigan State had plenty of time to throw in a lot of junctures of this game. And I bring that up just because I feel like what happened against Ohio State and, Hutchinson being a Heisman finalist and all this stuff, like there's become this idea that these defensive ends are just world beaters. They're very, very good, but like they're not going to break this game against McClendon and Sawyer, in my personal opinion. So, sorry to kind of go on a rant there. I know that you're trying that we're moving through plays, but it just feels important to mention.
No, that they're two stud players, and that's kind of what I, even just pulling these plays and stuff. It's like they're two guys, but you can scheme around them, and the defensive ends can't. They're not going to drop back in coverage. There's, and we've talked about it all season and even last year about Monken's got a plan B for their plan A. And so if you're telling me that as good as Ojabo and Hutchinson are, that, there's places we can attack and they're not as strong behind them, then that's good news for a Georgia fan.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with you.
33.
Yep. So like you'll see Michigan's defensive tackles, they're not that great. And so it allows you some opportunities to kick runs out like this. And you're going to see this a lot. Like I think getting to the outside against this defense can be important. That is like speed is the thing that will break this defense. Like this is what speed can do to this defense right here. It's very James Cook type of game, right? Like, kind of get through the line of scrimmage and then break things outside when you're hitting the linebackers in the secondary. One thing I love that Michigan State was able to do to these guys in sort of some third and short and fourth and short situations, instead of just trying to run into the teeth, they did a lot of stuff play action wise. Georgia's used a ton of play action this year. I would expect them to take some shots in some short yardage situations with some heavy tight end sets. Here, again, getting the ball out on the perimeter, I think is huge. I I think that like Georgia needs to let running backs touch the ball in the passing game in this situation. The weakness of this Michigan defense is lateral speed, and Georgia can take advantage of it with Cook, McIntosh, screens out on the edge with the McConkeys and Burtons, and you know what I mean. Like there's a lot of things they can do out on the perimeter in this game. Yeah. So I'm sorry, I lost my spot.
59.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So Aiden Hutchinson, right? Like he can do this though, you know. I mean, this is just a clean, like come off, come around, draw a holding penalty, and make a sack at all at the same time. So I'm not saying he's not great because he's great, but he's not. You know, I think Georgia will have answers for him and things they can counter with, and then Ajabo can do this. So it's definitely worth looking at. It's definitely something you have to pay attention to. And then Hutchinson's on top of the ball there. So yeah.
That was
just you can't get into third and long against this defense, though, is really my point. No obvious passing downs can be allowed. And with the corners, I think the corners are athletic, but they can be fooled by comeback routes, double moves, stop fades. Pretty, normal for college corners.
Yeah, if that ball's thrown better, that's the first down there. I mean,
he actually caught it.
He did?
Think so. I know. Yeah, it's weird, but he did catch it. It was ruled a catch, and then the next play, they're right there. But I think that there's things they can do. Again, here though, you see 3rd and short. If you'll go back a play, 4th and 4, Michigan State just says screw it and goes for the jugular, hits the one-on-one matchup. You see the safety there, number 5, or number 2. I'm sorry, Brad Hawkins. He's going to try and come across, but he's just not fast enough to get from the hash over there to that corner. And I think that's a big deal in this game. Like he's not quite. They're just not that fast at safety, and I think you can take advantage of some cover 2 looks and some cover 1 type things they do and have one-on-one matchups where you can go downfield and they will stay one-on-one matchups without safety help affecting the ball. So, and then kind of going back to the theme, getting outside. You can get outside on Michigan in the run game. Like, I know that this is Kenneth Walker III, and he is very special, but so is James Cook. Like, Georgia's got running backs that have this type of speed. This is a very well-blocked play. But you see there, like, against an SEC team, that guy coming over that's going to dive at Walker's feet right here, that's probably a tackle. And on this Michigan defense, it's not. There's just a half step slower. And then, a great way to neutralize Hutchinson is right here. So getting behind him in the passing game with these types of swings. Ohio State did it a couple times, and it was, really effective for him. Hutchinson did, have a bunch of sacks in this game, but Ohio State got very one-dimensional in this game as well. And, I think, that play. So that's on Dax Hill, who I was talking about earlier. I think he's the best guy in the back 7 of this D, but agile wide receivers that are good route runners can create space against him. I think a Ladd or Jermaine Burton can make some plays against him. So, like Ohio State, going back and looking at these games, Ohio State got pushed around up front all day and had 0 rushing attack, but they still moved the ball well in the passing game. It's just once those DNs could tee off, it was throw for 20 yards, get sacked for an 8-yard loss. You know what I mean? And they just didn't convert in the red zone. But the thing that Michigan State did when they got down, by 3 possessions in that football game is they never stopped running the ball. They never abandoned the run, and they stuck with their game plan and just trusted their defense, and that worked out well for them. So I think there's a little bit of message there for Georgia of, if you're going to attack this defense, you have to continue delivering those body blows to them because they are good and they are physical up front, but they are not deep like Georgia is in terms of D line rotation of like game breaking dudes that are backups and non starters and things of that nature. So I think that is a thing that I'll be looking for. I don't expect Georgia to I don't expect this to be the type of game where you could see Georgia down, 14 points or something like that. That would surprise me tremendously. But even if they are, they cannot go into, every down we're passing type mode because they're going to get eaten alive by these DNs if they do that.
Well, I guess we're about to jump into the offense, but what Georgia is planning to do is put pressure on the quarterback, right? Are we ready to move on into the offense? Because I just had I just kind of like ADHD'd on you right there, hardcore, and just jumped in.
Yeah.
And Ed, I'm going to show a stat here where this is I made a Twitter post about this, talked about how, bad actually Bennett was under pressure with 50% accurate and, just a 32% completion or 30.2% completion rate on contested throw or pressured throws. And McNamara was pretty well. And Ed talked about it. This is actually good news how a stats person looks at this, that, he doesn't expect Stetson to be that bad under pressure. He's going to regress towards the mean, and McNamara's probably played above his potential there, and that any kind of regression is probably going to be toward Georgia's benefit. So
That's probably true. Yeah.
I mean, that kind of blew my mind that he's a Michigan guy and he thinks that that's probably bad news. So, but it is interesting because everyone's talked about, we did not get pressure on Bryce Young in the SEC championship game. We were kind of wondering and scratching our heads why we didn't send more guys or did not get home more. So I don't think that's going to be the defense, the branded defense we're going to see on Friday night.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing I'll say, kind of upon the rewatch of that game, Georgia got pressure at times, like enough pressure to affect Bryce Young's throws and create, stops, basically create incomplete passes or plays that were for 2 or less yards. But they never converted that pressure into sacks. And especially against a team like Michigan, if you can create a sack, your chances of getting off the field are extremely, extremely high. What they do well, they score from far. They're not the type of team that I think can drive the ball down the field on Georgia just 5 yards at a time. But the flip side of that is, they're reliant on big plays to score touchdowns. They are also, though, a team that, if it's 3rd and 18 or 2nd and 20, they're going to have a hard time finding a path out of that when it's obvious what's coming. They are very, I think, reliant on putting you in run pass conflict and not being predictable in terms of what's coming.
Yeah, I mean, I've got our defensive line sort of stats up here, and you can see that Walker and Smith, Wyatt, Carter, Davis, and have all gotten significant pressures. I mean, it comes from everywhere. It's not just a couple of studs, and it's not just Jordan Davis, which is everyone's the name that everyone knows on the Georgia defense. I mean, we can get pressure with a lot of different guys. So I think again, that's what we expected to see against Alabama, and I hope to see it against Michigan.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that you will see, we'll kind of talk about it a little bit, but it's I think there's some things that Georgia can take advantage of to get pressure against Michigan. I also think that, against Bryce Young, when you don't get pressure,
it's over.
And Michigan is a good offense, but they're not going to make you pay the way that a Bryce Young will.
Yeah. All right. Into the offense. Let me catch up here. Ohio State 18. Is that what you've got?
I've got Michigan State clip 9.
All right. Cool. Watch this.
There we go. Yeah. So this is what McNamara does well right here. Accurate throws, in stride, short to intermediate range that let his guy run free after the catch. This is Andrell Anthony. He is a freshman wide receiver. He is not really a starter, but he's probably the the Michigan wide receiver that scares me the most on tape. But yeah, man, like that, that's the type of play right there. It's just accurate, and you get caught with the slower guy in man coverage, and all of a sudden it's 80 something yards or 90 something yards,
All right,
touchdown to the house.
I showed this on my little pressure clip. I don't know if this counts as pressure, but this is he's got guys in his. That is not. I don't know. Is that a clean pocket? But it just
Yes.
that's a clean pocket.
Yeah.
Still an impressive throw. I mean,
Oh yeah, it's a great throw, but I mean, like he's able to step up into that throw, and like he's also able to let that route develop until his guy, has come all the way back across the formation in front of him, and you'll see them run that play a lot. They like to bring, the guy, from the opposite hash back across the formation and try and hit him on kind of like a deep slant / crossing pattern. And then, this is also Anthony right here. He can go up and do this. So that's the guy that I think Georgia needs to have an eye on. But the bread and butter of this offense is the run game. It's where it starts and finishes. Look at the left side of this offensive line right here, man. This left tackle kicks out the edge guy. These guys, everybody's trying to climb to the second level. There's a huge hole here, and Haskins, takes advantage of it. Easy 7-8 yard gain. Haskins is a bruiser, man. 796 of his 1,288 yards came after contact this year. So impressive stuff. Here one more time. I'm sorry. Showing the Ohio State play again. The next one. Watch this left tackle.
Which number are you on?
This one right here. Yeah.
Okay.
Watch this left tackle move the Ohio State defensive lineman all the way back across the formation. Boop, boop, boop. Like he literally just washes this dude all the way out of the play. Ryan Hayes, left tackle. So that's the identity, right? And it's very 2017 Georgia-ish, like we were talking about. Like lots of counters and pulls, lots of blocking schemes that are involved. These guards and tackles moving around, coming off the edges, pulling back around the formation. So it's very like assignment oriented, and they're very good at what they do. And that's one, they won the Joe Moore Award. Haskins has more yards than Blake Corum. But I think that Blake Corum is more. What clip are you on?
I'd pause it because you were still talking about running backs, and the next one I got is McNamara, clip 17, or Michigan versus Michigan State, clip 17.
Okay, I'm on. Do you have 98 and 16?
Yep.
Okay,
we'll go back to those. Here's a 98.
Cool. Yeah. So Blake Corum is the kind of second running back. Oh yeah, you already showed this. My bad. But he is more. I think he's more dangerous. He's the home run hitter. Like he'll break big runs. He averages more yards per carry. He was hurt the last month of the season. Otherwise, he's a 1,400 yard back in his own right. So keep an eye on him because he worries me more than anyone, and he's healthy now. If you want to disrupt this run game, the best opportunity to do so is at center and guard. I'm on 16, Michigan State, clip 16. So I think that's good. Yeah. Like, I think it's good news for UGA, just in the sense that, like, that's the strength of this entire team is the interior line of this defense.
Yeah, so. that the center's played all season. I'm not sure if he was the designated starter. He's got 850 snaps, but that's a guy that's going to be lined up against Jordan Davis.
Yeah.
And he's obviously a veteran. He's hasn't obviously been healthy all year, but that's going to be a huge matchup. If Georgia can get home and can beat them that's one of the critical points is not having to send extra guys, especially on run stops. I mean, Jordan Davis rotates out a lot on pass plays, but that's a matchup I like. As good and as veteran as their center is, Stuvardis or whatever his name is, whose name escapes me right now.
It is Vistardis.
Vistardis. I like that.
Strong Midwestern stock.
Yeah,
For sure.
I like that. That's a check mark for Georgia. Center versus our nose guard. I mean,
I
Jordan Davis
agree.
is obviously a beast. So I do think that if they're going to run between the tackles, and you kind of brought up a point about they do a lot of pulling, they move a lot of their guards around, and that's kind of where our linebackers can attack on those when those guys are on the move and stuff. I just think that we are going to continue with our strong run defense. I mean, Alabama didn't get a whole
Yeah.
lot going on the ground.
No. Yeah.
So I kind of like, we've talked about it. This is the matchup that kind of suited the Georgia to lick our wounds.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to lick our
Absolutely.
wounds are best.
Well, and I mean, going back to the pulling thing, like Kentucky is the team that Georgia faced this year that does the most similar things to Michigan, just from a concept standpoint and a scheme standpoint in the run game. And, you saw how that went for them. They came into that game leading the SEC in rushing. I think they were one of the top rushing teams in the nation, and they left with like a couple yards of carry average. So I think that, what happened in that game is Georgia was able to just knock those pullers off the ball before they ever even got into really the play. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. But I think it bodes very, very well for Georgia. Like, this is what you want if you're looking for a team to match up well with if you're UGA.
I'm on clip 17. McNamara's third and short throw here.
So he is, you're going to see this kind of timing pattern out to the flat to his right. And he's really good at throws like this. And third and short is really problematic against this offense because the way this team runs the football, your linebackers have to be ready to fill on the interior. But if you're safety, go back to that previous play, please. So you see here pre-snap, the linebackers on, kind of inside the play. And your safety, you can't cheat him up because you need help if they decided to run the ball up the gut. And you need those linebackers and that slot DB kind of close to the line in case they run the ball. So you just give away outside leverage to the flat, and that's an easy first down. And that's what this offense does. Like, the running game is so good that it creates easy opportunities in the passing game, especially in these kind of, third and 1 to 4 situations where they are a legit threat to go and run the ball. You're really kind of, your hands are tied as a D coordinator as to where you want to put your resources.
Yeah.
So,
I think you just keep the play in front of you and not give up explosive plays like you did against Alabama. And, you live to fight another day. And if they get a first down and they complete a pass, and that's what you do, but you can't give up the slots and guys running over the middle for 30 and 40-yard gains when, a first down is not going to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I agree. It's just, just kind of trying to illustrate the challenge they present of, like, I don't think it's team that you can always like maybe Georgia can, but in terms of how they got to this point in the season, they're too difficult to just play straight man against in the box and, not bring extra numbers in, because if you don't do that, more often than not, you're going to get killed. And I think maybe with Georgia's D-line talent and inside linebacker talent, they're able to neutralize that threat. But I am interested to see how they're going to kind of approach some of those third and short situations, because I don't know, yeah, you're right. Like, giving up a 7-yard play or a 5-yard play does not, that's not the ball game by any stretch of the imagination. But I think what's key is keeping them out of those third and short situations. Like, first and second down in this game for both teams is so, so important, because I don't think either of them are very good in third and 7+.
No, we know we're not as good as we'd like to be. All right, they've got a tight end too, apparently, you're telling me.
Yeah, and he worries me a lot. Eric All. He's a big body. He's good in run blocking, but he's also got good enough speed and hands to do this. And you cannot let a tight end like this by you easily when you see him. Like, he's busting blocks. All of a sudden, he's going to, break down and put a move on you. It's a conundrum. Like, this next play, you're going to see they do this really beautiful delay design to him where he's going to. Oh, wait. Nope. That's not the next play. Do you have 68?
Yeah. There's a 68 here.
Yeah. So you see him just kind of slip out like that. And like he's blocking and it's just a little delayed release. But that's kind of tricky. You know what I mean? Especially when you're playing zone and all of a sudden he's got a big space and that's an easy first down. So I don't know if they'll run that against Georgia or not, but he's a versatile weapon. He's a very good blocker and he's a good enough receiver basically. I'm on 39. Is that where you are?
Yep. Here comes
Yeah. So this is the problem with playing zone against these guys is you leave these running backs able to work into the flat, and you don't want these guys with the ball in their hand and in space. So I think Georgia needs an aggressive game plan in this game. Like I think that they need to come out and try and sort of force the issue with these guys. McNamara is late a lot. And
it's coming up. Here goes 49.
Yeah. If he's late over the middle against Georgia, I think you could see one go the other way. Like he makes that play, but that ball should have been thrown a second and a half earlier. So something to keep an eye on.
You can see number 9 in your closing in on there.
Yeah.
And that ball is late under, so that could have been an even bigger play than it was.
Yep. And then in third down situations, he's often looking for his tight ends. This is his other tight end, Luke Schoonmaker. They do a lot of 2 tight end sets. Like these teams they mirror each other in a lot of ways. Georgia does as well. But yeah, he's a cerebral guy, man. McNamara, like he will see matchups at the pre-snap, linebackers on wide receivers, those types of situations. If you're Georgia, you have linebackers who can run with a lot of Michigan's wide receivers, like legitimately. But you get my point of just he will recognize what's going on pre-snap. He is also prone to pre-reading defenses and deciding where he's going to throw the ball. And that's what you see right there. And so I think that Georgia can do some things to show him matchups that he would like pre-snap and disguise coverages and switch into different looks and possibly force turnovers. Yeah, it was a horrible decision. It was very, very poor. But then the rest of that game he played like outside of his mind. So
yeah.
It's college football, man. Yeah, so missed tackles or take bad angles at the point of attack, and this is what will happen to you against Michigan. You've got to tackle fundamentally. Georgia does, but yeah, you cannot if you get your hands on a guy, you got to make plays. Yeah, you can't come in shoulder first against these dudes and just try to knock them over. That's not going to work. And you cannot leave your A gaps unattended against this offense either. Like what Ohio State did on defense against Michigan was a war crime, for the record. Like it was horrible. And Georgia will have to play like a sound assignment football on Friday night. If you try and cheat on the DL, they will make you pay for it. And
yeah, man. This is number 10.
Yeah. I liked the reverse angle. I thought it was sweet. But yeah, you see here like
he whiffs. Ohio State was not a good defense, as we learned.
Right. Right. But Michigan's also they're eager. They're going to get up on the second level and work with you. They did a lot of this against Ohio State, and this is getting the ball. No, you're good. Same, like you're going to see this guy kind of come on a similar end around. Like they will try to get him out on the edge a lot. Number 3, I forget what his name is.
Yeah, this is a trick play here that I think maybe Lewis talked about, your eye discipline here. And they did a lot of these. I think a couple. We're not going to have the Iowa game, but they did a couple of these too.
They did, halfback passes and all that. And I think the thing with like Georgia's not that's not going to work against Georgia. The lateral quickness is too good. Like Channing Tindall comes around and you stand up with pieces of yourself in his face mask if you try to run that against Georgia in a lot of situations. And I think that what is his name? Number 3 for Michigan. I guess it's not that important, but
wide receiver.
Yeah.
Wide receiver.
Yeah. It's all good.
Who is it?
I had it earlier.
Saristi, Baldwin. I don't have their numbers up here. Anthony.
Hold on.
Henning. Is it Henning? No.
It is not Henning. It is Henning. I'm sorry. AJ Henning. Yep.
Yeah.
You got it.
Exactly right.
Like they do a lot of.
He actually has 2 or 3 rushing touchdowns, but no receiving touchdowns. So yeah, that's a guy you got to look for to possibly get on these swing pass or whatever, the end arounds and all that sort of stuff, because he's possibly a threat with his feet more than he is with his routes.
Yeah, if he's in the game, then there's a good chance that they're gonna try to go to him.
I am on clip 15 or on our rundown here.
Yeah, go for it. So I think this is
this is the same place. Yeah.
But my point being, these were the types of plays that they were busting against Ohio State. I mean, this offense put up 42 points on Ohio State, right? And it's like, how did that happen? That's how it happened. But yeah, McNamara is not a great downfield thrower, but he's good on those boundary throws, like you just saw there. And this is kind of an example, like he doesn't really burn you in one-on-one opportunities on the outside that much. So I think Georgia can afford to play one-on-one on the outside. He is faster than you might think, though. And he's good at recognizing when there's opportunities to run. He will take 6 or 7 yards on first down if you give it to him. So something Georgia has to be aware of. He does have a tendency to take off when there's a chance. And then, yeah, I mean, I think, if Georgia if you play them soft, then like they'll take these all day. Like that's what they're really good at, is just taking what you give them. So you can't give them easy 6-7 yards on 1st and 10, because then they've got you in 2nd and 3, and then that's when they're able to create those big plays like we're talking about. So,
right.
But yeah,
here's what we're going to see when they get him off. As good as he's been under pressure, he's not as good when he's got time to throw.
Yeah, and I mean, the Michigan offensive line has been much heralded coming into this game. But this is a 5-man rush, and they get overwhelmed pretty quickly. Ohio State does not have a dominant like Joey Bosa or Nick Bosa or Chase Young kind of guy right now, like they have in years past. But like they have similar type of athletes and similar type of edge rushers to what Georgia has, and like they were able to move him at times when they brought pressure. But I think like if you're Georgia, getting him off the spot is a big deal, because he's not great once he starts having to move and then throw. So
breathe. Hell, dude.
No, I'm good. Let's.
You just went like 40 plays on Michigan.
I know.
That's impressive. You do have some notes on some of the plays we've seen from Georgia.
Yeah, from Georgia. So
we can get into these.
Yeah, let's roll through them, and you can just let them play. So I think, in my opinion, Georgia can abuse the inside linebackers. James Cook. Like, you can do this all day.
Please, God.
Give him the ball 15 to 20 times. Let him, motion out wide and catch beautiful rainbow bombs off the arm of Stetson Bennett or JT Daniels or whoever's back there. Because Michigan doesn't have dudes like him on defense that are going to be able to keep up with them. The other thing about those linebackers not being great in coverage is, and same with their safeties, Brock Bowers often gets matched up on linebackers and safeties. I think that's a huge advantage for Georgia in this game. And then, Michigan is a pull-heavy team, like we were talking about earlier in the run game. They run a lot of counters, and they try to do a lot of power. And I think that last time we saw Georgia play one of those, they abused them and blew it up. So I think you can see Georgia at times possibly like disrupt some of these blocking schemes before they even get started. You're just not going to gut Georgia up the middle over and over like you did Ohio State. Going back to the end rounds, Georgia saw a lot of that this year with Wan'Dale Robinson. They handled it well. I think Robinson is shiftier and faster than anybody that Michigan has. And then, yeah, I do think Georgia can run the ball on these guys. And I think, the weakness of that D line is the D tackles. The weakness of Georgia's offensive line is the guards. That bodes well for Georgia. If you get a stalemate at that position, I think you're happy. And I think you can get out on the edges like you do right here. And Georgia has gotten on the edges a lot this year. They have done that. And
hey, wait. That's not Stetson.
yeah, well, I think if Stetson is struggling, that we will see one JT Daniels. And he can also roll the pocket just fine.
Pour one out.
Yeah. Not saying Stetson will struggle. I think that there's a pretty clean game plan for him that he should be able to, if he stays within the boundaries of, have a lot of success.
I think to going back to it, it's like I don't even think it's a bad thing if we see both quarterbacks. I think they know.
I don't either.
Yeah, I think they know they somebody needs to be repped. Alabama's had to go to their backup quarterback a couple times versus us in big games. So, and JT needs snaps if he's going to be there, even if it's just quarterback too. So, it's wild to think about, even the hint of a quarterback rotation, with all the drama and all the talk about it. But, I think personally, I where I stand on it. I'm trying to tiptoe around it. But I certainly hope
about it. Let's hear it.
I certainly hope that look, there's no Georgia fan that actually isn't cheering for Stetson Bennett. This idea that he's being trashed by the fan base, and I mean, sure, there's a lot of negativity out there, but we want to win a national championship, and we've had our hearts stepped on multiple times over the last 10 years by Alabama, and we've seen the Stetson Bennett job not get it done. I mean, yeah, we can go back through and say, yeah, the Georgia defense gave up 40 plus in both those games in 2020 and 2021, but the average playoff winner scores 40 plus every game in the playoff, and the average losing team scores 21, and Georgia has put up 24, 28, 23 against Alabama in postseason games. And I do think that we're going to have to score at least 30 to beat Alabama, and we may need to score 30 to beat Michigan for all we know and stuff. Now, I don't care who it is. I don't care who it is. I don't Jackson Muschamp. Just give me 30 points. I do think that my biggest complaint is, okay, well, if Stetson Bennett's the guy, as Monken said, who gives us the best chance to win, to me, that sounds like a little bit of an indictment. If JT's 100% healthy and Stetson Bennett's your best quarterback, somebody's not doing their job, or there's issue. There's issue. Hang on. Let me finish. Or there's issues that we aren't privy to. But it's my I've said it a bunch. I'll say it again. It's like we spend $3 million a year on recruiting, and we have a former walk-on as quarterback, and that, in my opinion, that's not good roster management. I love Stetson. I want him. If he can win it, great. That's awesome. I'm here for the Disney movie, but I have doubts that he can pull us over the top. All right, I'm out. I'm not out.
No, you're good. I mean, I think if anyone expected Todd Monken to go up there today and say anything different than what he did, then
not me.
You're denying what football coaches are at their core and their general nature. And if you think that if JT was if they were planning on giving him 100% of the snaps on Friday night, there's no way in hell anyone would walk up there and saying that today. No. And if they were planning on doing it, it would be even more reason to go up there and talk nicely about Stetson Bennett. So
you're
whatever,
right.
It is what it is. Just leave the kid alone. You know what I mean? Whatever. If he's in the game, he's not the one that chooses whether he's in the game or not. So I get the frustration from everybody. And I'm not saying leave the kid alone towards you. I don't feel like, I know you haven't been like, mean about him or anything like that. It's just, yeah, I think that the reality of this game is he's either going to start and he's either going to play really well and Georgia's going to win, or he's going to start and he's going to struggle and JT Daniels is going to come in. But that was not the case with this football team a month ago, 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago, in my personal opinion. I think that, there was a time there where it really wouldn't matter what Stetson did. Like, he was going to come out for that next series no matter what. So, I think that if you're a Georgia fan, you should also realize, like, the coaching staff wants to win this national title just as much, if not more so, than you do. And I think that they're going to pull the trigger if they have to pull the trigger. So we'll see what happens on Friday, but it'll be fascinating. And I am sure that everyone will be talking about it for a long time to come, because that's what we do around here, is dissect the quarterback situation instead of appreciate a generational defense. But that's my own problem.
I think there's plenty of love going all around for these
I know. I'm just kidding. So let's, what do you think happens on Friday?
Here, let me just throw up my little fancy score prediction sheet here.
I saw that little fancy score prediction sheet. I liked it.
I did this for the Alabama game. Didn't work out too well. So I was looking at some of these numbers, and it's like explosive plays or explosive rating is the EPA for each successful play you have on offense or one you allow on defense. Georgia is averaging just over 30 successful plays on offense. Michigan's is getting 33 successful plays on offense. Georgia's only allowing, even after the Alabama game, just under 20 successful plays on defense, and Michigan's allowing 25. Now, those actually counting towards points on the scoreboard. Both Michigan and Alabama, and most of the teams in the playoff, are getting 1.2 points on the scoreboard for each of those successful plays. So I don't think that that Georgia is going to need or expect to have 30 plus, nor is Michigan. So I'm going to say that Georgia is going to have the better defense. I mean, better offense, 28 successful plays. And I'm going to give them 0.8 points per successful play, giving them about 23. And then I think Georgia is going to hold Michigan to under 25 under their season average. And they're actually going to make it harder to score, less explosive plays, less big chunk plays, and that 0.6 per successful play, 15 points. So there's my little nerd math on it. So 23-15, right there on the number. I don't know what the over-under is. I think it was creeping up, but my gut tells me
it's in the 40s.
Yeah, that's 38. So I like the under, and I don't know, that 7.5 hook makes me worried. If you're betting that, because it's holding at 7.5. So certainly if it gets to 7 or 6.5, I would jump on the dogs. I would probably just play the under and stay away from the points. Or, I guess Michigan in the hook is pretty tempting, I got to say.
It is tempting. Do you have any red zone numbers on Michigan?
Give me a second. If you'll vamp
yeah. Well, okay. So, I mean, I think that's a big deal in this game. Michigan is gonna crack a play or two here and there, I think. But I think what's important is that, like, you tackle these guys on the 15 instead of letting them score. Because I do think that a big part of their success has been being able to score from far away, and I do think they struggle in the red zone, especially when they're playing against teams that they can't just, run it up the gut on and say, okay, we're just better than you up front and we're going to push you around. So that, I think, is a big key for the Georgia defense. Here's the deal, man. I think Michigan is a good football team. They're deserving of being in this playoff just as much as anyone else. But the reality is that everyone has sort of created this opinion on Michigan based off of the results of that Ohio State game. And if you go back and look at Michigan's season, just that result was not maybe indicative. Like, we've framed Ohio State as the Ohio State program that we've known for the last few years, and this Ohio State team just wasn't that good. They gave up 40 something points to Minnesota or 35 to Minnesota first night of the season on that Thursday in late August. They gave up 40 something to Oregon, who struggled to score like in the mid 20s against Cal. So I say all that just to say that Michigan's offense is fine, but I don't think there's anything they can do to really take advantage of any specific matchups on Georgia's defense. I do expect to see Brenny back in the star position. I expect to see Christopher Smith back in that safety position. I think that is a very good thing for Georgia. And I do think you'll see some other, the guys will rotate in and out and all that, but I think that those guys will be in there in some key moments. But I just have a hard time figuring out how Michigan scores points in this game. At the end of the day, that's what this comes down to. And I think that Georgia, there's too many good athletes on the field when you go from tight ends to running backs to wide receivers. There's enough matchups there that I think Georgia can take advantage of. And I think that Georgia can run the ball on this Michigan defense with some, regularity. Like, I don't think that they're just going to pop them for 7-8 yards every down over and over. But I do think this is the type of defense that a team with Georgia's backs can bust a big, long run on. And I also think this is the type of defense where if you get somebody the ball in space on the outside, they have a good chance of making someone in the second level miss and turn it into a big play. So I like Georgia's chances on offense. I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
No, actually Michigan's 52% success rate inside the 20. But passing the ball, they're 37% success rate. Kind of like it kind of to your point, it's like they're gonna have to run the ball, and that's what they want. The majority of their production is a significant proportion of only 24 passing touchdowns the whole season. So they want to run the ball, and that's how they want to score. And obviously, well documented, that's what Georgia does well. It's the number 2 rush defense by success rate against the rush. And they played Wisconsin, and they were okay against Wisconsin, but certainly didn't run the ball at will on them. So I to your point, I don't know how they can do that against Georgia consistently. They're going to definitely have some drives, and don't forget Camarda flipping the field. Georgia's owned the field position battle most of the year, and in a game like this, with this type of offense and these kinds of defenses, that can be critical. Making them go 10 or 15 more yards each drive can be the difference in a comfortable win or a close win or a loss or a win overall. And
Camarda, 100%.
Camarda played really well against Alabama. He got a couple of boomers in there.
He did, for sure. Yeah, and I mean, I think at the end of the day, right, like, it's just I think that, like, Michigan is going to have a hard time scoring points. And I think that Georgia has been better than anyone in the country at not giving up long plays. And in the few instances where they have given up long pass plays to anyone not named Jamison Williams, who's about to be a top 10 pick in the next NFL draft and runs a 4.2, which no one on Michigan does, they are making tackles at the 15 or the 12, and they're shutting you down, and they're forcing you into a 4th down situation or kicking a field goal. And I think that Georgia's offense is probably better than we've all given it credit for throughout most of the year. They scored 24 points against Bama, but like, they move the ball all day. And I think that, they can move the ball on Michigan. And I think that unlike an Ohio State, who didn't have the defense to shut down that run game and found themselves way behind and found themselves having to throw on every down, like, Georgia will remain balanced throughout this game. And I don't think they'll be in a game state that really takes them out of whatever they want to do. And I think that Todd Monken is this is kind of a chance for him to sort of like pitch his own little masterpiece, because this will be a game where it's punch, counter punch, and you don't want to be predictable for either team. And I think he's very good at disguising what's coming and not telegraphing play calls. So I think that this game will, like, I look at what Georgia did this year against everybody not named Alabama or Clemson, and the truth is like Georgia did a really good job early in games. They didn't like play with their food, so to speak, too often. I feel like this game might be 7, 10 points at halftime type situation. And then it's type of deal where like maybe Georgia comes out third quarter and scores once or twice or scores three and out. Kind of, I could see this being a game where it's 7 points the whole time and it feels like Michigan can never ever catch up. But I'm more inclined to think that Georgia is going to kind of pull away and there's going to be a couple drives in a row at some point where they go and score touchdowns or a turnover or something like that. So I am going Georgia. I'm going to say I'm going to go 31 to I'm going to go 31 to 10.
You're gonna get some comments. You didn't have your score ready, dude.
No, I know. I mean, like I knew kind of the ballpark, but yeah, I mean, I was torn between 31 and 34, but I just don't know how Michigan scores a bunch of points. Right. And I mean, like, I could be wrong. We'll see.
Who's your MVP? I think Zamir White or James Cook. I think I was gonna say we're not gonna throw the ball 30 times. There's gonna be a lot of carries, and
I don't know about that. I don't know. I mean, I think there will be a lot of carries, but I think that Georgia might have the ball a lot in this football game.
Do you? So I think it's going to be sub 60 or right at 60 touches or 60 plays on offense for Georgia and around that for Michigan. So I'm just thinking 30. I can see 28 to 32 pass to rush, and 32. What's that going to give you? 17, 18 carries for Zamir White. If he gets 6 yards of carry, that's a big game. I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the real MVPs of this game are going to be Jalen Carter, Devontae Wyatt, Trevon Walker, Jordan Davis. I think the guy that they give the trophy to on the stage at the end of the night. I would say either James Cook, or maybe Brock.
Yeah, I mean, Brock was the obvious. I think Georgia's going to run the ball though. I do. I think we're going to, and I think it's going to be one of these. We're going to talk about the quarterback. We're going to talk about the quarterback, and it's going to be, line up, pound it, and have success on the ground game, and make the quarterback sort of play kind of moot. Even though if we might see both quarterbacks, but I do think that Georgia's going to run the ball.
And one thing I noticed about this Michigan defense is there were times this year where a team was running their offense heavily through one player, and Michigan got so distracted with that player that they kind of forgot everything else was going on. So it's I wouldn't be shocked to see a big play from Darnell Washington.
I'd love to see that.
I think that's very possible. I personally though think that Georgia can kind of do some things to them in the passing game that maybe a lot of people aren't expecting. And I think that these defensive backs, if Georgia has a quarterback in the game who can throw the ball into windows on the sidelines downfield, that there will be plenty of opportunities to do that to open wide receivers. So I could see George Pickens coming in and having, a couple big plays and maybe only being on the field for 15, 20 snaps in the game or something like that. But, at the end of the day, it's just, I'm very certain that I think Michigan's going to have a hard time to score. I also, one other bold prediction, if I may, not necessarily a prediction, but remember before the Florida game when I was Anthony Richardson does this thing that I think is going to lead to a pick six for Georgia, and then Georgia had the pick six before the half. I'm not quite that confident in this one, but I do think that there is a chance for Georgia to have a pick six on McNamara, especially if Georgia gets up in this game, kind of puts a little pressure on them and they have to start passing, or if this running game's not working and they got to drop back 30 or 40 times. Dude,
let's bookend it, Chris. Let's bookend it. Chris Smith pick sixes starting.
That would be pretty cool. Yeah,
that'd be awesome. The official ambassador to Dog Sports Live. We haven't forgot about
That's
you,
right.
Chris. We love you. All right. So Graham, thank you for running through all those plays.
Thank you.
We've been busy doing a lot of things with real life, work life, and otherwise. So we appreciate all you guys hanging in there. We're sorry for all you Michigan fans that are going to talk to us that we don't know all your players' names by heart. But thanks for watching. We enjoy the click and the view no matter what. We love you guys. We love what we do. And Graham, we talked about maybe doing a spaces. You want to do a spaces tomorrow once this thing gets out for 24
Yeah.
hours
Yeah.
and yuck it up. So if you're still here, you can see you can talk about our show tonight or anything else we got going on, and we'll have the Dog Out West live on Spaces.
We'll have the dog stats as well, for the record.
It'd be fun. All right, Graham, anything else before we get out of here?
I will just say that that is Josh Hancher. You can find him on twitter.com at dog_stats. You should go and follow him. He does incredible work, and he makes me look smart, which is no small feat. I am Graham Coffey. Find me on Twitter at DogOutWest. Please go on YouTube or whatever podcast platform you prefer, Apple, Spotify, and follow our show, Dog Sports Live. Your likes, your follows, your comments, your subscriptions, whatever it is you want to call it. It all goes a long way. It all helps us. And if you like our show and you enjoy our stuff, tell your friends about it and share it with people, because that's how we grow.
All right, I think we got one more in the books. Hopefully, we'll have maybe a recap and a preview still to go. So
yes, knock on wood.
Go Dogs, and maybe we'll check you guys out on the Spaces tomorrow night.
We'll see you guys on twitter.com tomorrow night.